If I write on my resume that I am familiar with Python, then how much Python should I know? That's an interesting question, and the reason is I believe that a lot of us have the same question. Irrespective of where you are in your career, I think we ought to know some basics and core of Python. So, what I suggested for this one particular question was, at a minimum, you should know how to write functions and invoke them. So basically be able to understand the nuances around writing a function and passing arguments to that function, returning values from that function, then probably also knowing how to have multiple return from a function, along with the quarks and args, which are the keyword arguments and the argument positional arguments, right? These are some interesting things that we should know when we talk about knowing the basics of Python. Another interesting aspect that you should know when you talk about Python is you should know how to write classes and how to create instances of those classes. So, in Python, you generally don't have a constructor, you have an initializer, and basically you use that initializer as some sort of a constructor, if you will. So again, this nitty-gritties are also important when you're working day to day with Python classes and objects. Another key thing to know is the built-in data structures, and let me tell you, there are so many times when dictionaries, lists, and tuples have saved the day. And I believe that you can do a lot of things with dictionaries as well. You can figure out if a certain element is already present in a given set of lists. So basically you can do deduplication, you can do counting, you can do a whole bunch of wide variety of things that you can do with dictionary. And another key thing to know is that there is this collection modules in Python, and the collection module really helps us with some built-in data structure, namely heaps and counters and default dictionaries. Now what is interesting with dictionaries in Python is you can also have nested dictionaries and you can have complex dictionaries as well, right? So let's say a key would be a string and value could be a list, or it can be another dictionary, right? So you can have like a dictionary within a dictionary. Request is another interesting module that allow you to work with APIs, and specifically you can make get request, post request, pass in bunch of headers, authorization parameters, pass in username and passwords, those kind of things. So anytime you're working with any API of any sort, request comes in really handy. There is this URL lib as well, but I think request is a much cleaner way of interacting with APIs. And last but not least is knowing what virtual environments and why do you use them. So before you go around doing Googling on what are virtual environments with Python, let me just tell you, it allows you to isolate different projects and project dependencies. So let's say you have one project that depends on Beautiful Soup 4 and it depends on a specific version of Scrapy, whereas you have another project that runs with older versions of Scrapy and Beautiful Soup 4. You won't have isolation between them, right? It shouldn't be a case that you basically mess up your global library dependencies and then you cannot go back. So that's my gist on what are some minimum things that you need to know if you claim that you know Python. Obviously along with this also comes basic Linux commands, knowing how to write cron jobs and how to schedule a particular Python script that you have written. So I hope this helps.